Well. Welcome back for another breakdown. This was a pretty exciting event. Like, we actually got to see some stuff. Like, only a very small portion of this had been spoiled by, like, leaks and early reviews. So, for most of these figures, first time seeing them. Which makes this event what it's supposed to be. Oh, man. We got to see so much. So... you know, books, comics, games, Forged to Fight. 5 years old. That's crazy to me. That's insane. Like Robus and Robody, blah, 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 blah. But let's get to the legacy of it all. Legacy. So the first things we got to take a look at were some of those sweet, sweet deluxes. Right, let's just run through them, right? That's all there is to do. First cab off the rank, Wild Rider. Now, when you first look, you're like, damn, that looks exactly like he did in the cartoon, which is awesome. But then you notice he's got that, you know, really quite dramatic backpack going on. Which, like, to Mark's credit, he tried to explain it away. The car's got to go somewhere. I am finding that the increased transparency that they're having sort of makes you feel more on the inside. So rather than just getting it and being like, well, that's just it's still a shell former, right? You're actually like, okay, yeah. Good point, Mark. I guess the car parts have to go somewhere. But, he looks the business, right? The chest sculpt, the apps that they're applying. I wasn't super sold on Legacy after seeing Wave 1, but what they're giving us so far for Wave 2, pretty good.
Pretty good.
Then, we're back in the Prime verse. We're having a look at Knockout. Yeah, it's fine. I don't know. They do seem to be some of the more difficult designs to actually translate over to a more Generations-y aesthetic. So I find he doesn't have that same pizzazz. His alt mode looks very, very cool, and they've managed to pick up, you know, some more sort of knockout-y design cues there, but otherwise he's very, very traditional Datsun-y, jazzy, G1-y kind of transformer-y, and I guess that is what they were going for with Legacy. So I find myself sitting in the camp of wanting more faithful renditions of some of these characters from, like, the Prime universe, but I do get what they're going for, and it's cool to get nonetheless. The more it's had time to sit with me, the more I'm kind of getting used to it. But then, you don't need any kind of, like, palette cleansing to get on board with Tarantulas. That looks incredible in both modes that we got to see. Tarantula and Tarantulas, they both look so on point. And it was really cool as well to get to see from Mark some of the scaling with how he goes with Black Arachnia, and he just looks great. They're going to pair up amazingly. They're going to look sick in any display. The colors, like the sculpt, everything about Tarantulas is really, really doing it for me. If one slight quibble, one little thing, his biceps seem a little bit too long for his wrists. I would have rather, I don't know, that bicep piece with the legs be a little bit smaller so you could get a slightly longer pincer. But, failing that, incredible. And then lastly, a little bit of a weird one was Elita 1. I'm a little bit confused. The alt mode, the buggy, is bizarre. I guess that's kind of G1 cartoony with the head sticking out of it. But I don't know what it is. The sculpt, the colors, I'm finding the whole thing, and even the way that she was getting posed. I feel like the photographer for the official shots must have been, like, thinking the same thing. But, like, I kept expecting to see a photo of her, like,
how are you feeling, Master?
Because does she not just look almost exactly like I Dream of Jeannie? Is that just me? Am I the first one to notice that? I can't be the first one to notice. Also, when Mark was showing off that you could have Elita 1's backpack in a different configuration, was anyone else just straight up thinking that this is going to be like a Minerva repaint at some point? And if it is, I'm actually a little bit more excited for that than I am Elita 1, because I'm pretty happy with my Netflix Elita 1. But a cool, like, Generations Legacy Minerva, yes please. But anyway, if I'm being honest with myself, I'll be picking up all 4 of those deluxes. They all look great. Even Elita 1's retro, gidgety weirdness, I'm still on board with. Like, I did really like seeing her in a couple of different iterations being a little more hardcore. But you know, she might still bring it looking like I Dream of Jeannie. She was a rascally rapscallion as well, so I don't know. I need a little more time to sit with that one. I'm gonna get it, but I need a little more time. So next we get a look at some new Voyagers, which Soundwave, we've seen it, right? We've seen that figure so many times. It's clean now. He went through like a cyber car wash. I guess, I think everyone had been expecting it to be the Netflix one, but I guess that exclusive licensing must not have worked for them to be able to repurpose that mold, or maybe they thought with how it had been going on the aftermarket it would have angered too many fans to do that one again. But for whatever reason, Siege Soundwave, no scratches. But then, Jyaxus. That looks dope. I'm a little bit worried about the like off-white pearlescent-y kind of plastic after Apeface and Snapdragon. Seeing Mark handle it in hand, it didn't look quite like that, so I'm open-minded, but man, that head sculpt, all the details, I am loving what they are doing with these legacy figures. Like, he just looks like he's jumped out the pages of G2, really, with all that surface detailing and his mean mug. That's an exciting one to get. I'd assumed that they were going to go for that, like, Armada Soundwave is secretly Jyaxus, like, pre-mold kind of dealio, like we got with, was it Thrilling 30 when they did the orange Jyaxus? I think it was. But it looks like he's his own mold, so if Armada Starscream is going to be based off of that, there's going to have to be some really, really heavy retooling to even make that work. Then on the leader front, we got to see official Blitzwing, which was, it's cool, right? The photos look good. It's an awesome robot. I think the Titans Return one had better vehicles both ways, and like that cockpit bit sticking out, I know it's what's in the cartoon, but I don't know if I necessarily care about that, because it seems like they've put effort into that at the cost of having them actually look like fully resolved vehicle modes. So it's always one of those tough ones where it's like fandom versus like, you know, real, I don't know. I'm not sure where I land on that. I generally like it when they do those nods. In this instance, I don't think it mattered enough to make it compromise the alt modes. That's just me. But then, did we get a treat indeed when we got to see the like awesome Takara Tomy homie sitting there like spilling his guts on the process for coming up with Motormaster. And that figure looks really tight in my opinion. All the apps, the amount of color variation, the different things that they're doing all through his surface detailing, he just looks incredible. I cannot wait to get it. And so not only did we finally get a look at Motormaster, we also got to have like a, you know, 50% peek at how he goes with becoming Mensaur. And I thought it was pretty cool that they actually took the time to go through like that kind of, you know, base gunner station mode, which is always, they never look amazing, but when you get enough of them together, there's a bit of a cheerleader effect, and it's cool to have, I don't know, siege encampments, placements. I like it. The more like play value that you can pack into something that's going to end up being this expensive, the better, in my opinion. I'll probably only do it for the video, because obviously he's going to spend all of his time as Mensaur, and like, who could blame you? I did really like that you know, locking, splitting kind of with the pins gimmick, because it seemed like if you really wanted to, you could have those arms locked off and have like a much more kind of G1 faithful toy glow up looking one. But then you can also do that split extendy arm thing, and they've managed to pack in a much more cartoon accurate kind of dealio. And that head sculpt has like very cartoon feels to it. So there really is something for everyone with this latest wave of Legacy. I had been like a little bit on the fence about whether or not I could be bothered getting into another combiner. Like, I guess I'm imagining scale-wise, this one will probably look better with Devastator and Predaking, which are kind of my favorite combiners anyway. And after seeing this, I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna commit. I'm gonna do another Mensaur. Oh god, the aftermarket is gonna be flooded with Combiner Wars Mensaurs, right? Like every Facebook Marketplace listing for the next 12 months is just going to have all these Combiner Wars Mensaurs. Because this one's better, it just is. And then lastly, a little dessert on the back end of that smorgasbord of robot awesomeness, we got to see Shattered Glass Magnus. which is pretty cool. I didn't think they were going to go the whole skull face thing. That's like, Mark said that they had that tucked away as part of like the molding cost variant things from the beginning. So way back in Siege, they snuck that in there just in case they would end up getting to do a whole buttload of shattered glass. And I'm glad they did. It's like a nice little point of difference to making like shattered glass skull face Magnus. Then you've also got the original head, so you can just do like, what's he called? Delta Convoy? The Diaclone version? I think it's Delta Convoy. Someone will correct me if I've got it twisted. But the fact that he also comes with like the laser prime weapons and stuff as well, I kind of wish that they'd just done a laser prime recolor of Ultra Magnus recolor of Laser Prime, because Laser Prime is one of my all-time favorite figures, and so any version of him that pops up I'll get. But it is kind of cool to go the Delta Magnus, maybe, route with this one, and that Skullface head just makes it something different. So I will be buying that mold again. So I've got Sage, the spoiler box, and Kingdom, so I guess now I'll get this one, and I'll have pretty well 4, but at least 3 of them are sort of different. What am I doing with my life? Thanks so much for sticking with it. It's exciting. This was a really good reveal. This is what these events should be like. You watch it, everyone gets around it, couple of days of breaking it down, talking about it. It's a good fandom community building exercise, and I'm just so glad that this time they actually got to show some figures that really hadn't been spoiled for the most part already. Way to go on keeping it like, you know, on lockdown over there at Hasbro. Kudos. So that's about it. Hit me up in the comments. What are you excited about? I want to know. Let's get into it. As always, let's get nerdy. I want to get real nerdy with it. Just clickety-clack away, ring of the bell, sub it, like it, click it, clack, clack, talk about it. Catch you, nerds.